and you can do it however you'd like.
Hello, I'm Cammie King Conlon, and in 1939 I played the role of Bonnie Blue Butler in Gone with the Wind. That's a long time ago. Amazingly enough, it's something that keeps arising because the movie is such a phenomenon, such an icon. It's interesting. I'm lucky enough to be up in Mendocino now, actually Little River on the Mendocino coast. A far cry from Hollywood, but a lovely one, and the site of a lot of movies.
Good. That would be the intro.
Okay.
And then you would show maybe a little clip. And now I'm going to do a little bit different shot.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that was excellent.
Perfect.
That was excellent.
And it was human. It was you made it clear. You know, that was a long time ago. You've moved on in your life, and
Now we can.
okay. So as we do with everybody, we're going to ask you what inspires you or what you love about California, or it could be Mendocino or both. And then we'll go from there to sort of specifically talking about the Little River Inn, and then some bits if you want to talk about what's going with the wind.
Okay.
So if you want to let us know what inspires you about California.
I am always amazed by the beauty. And of course, I'm up here on the Mendocino coast, and every day that I get in my car and I drive on Highway 1, I have the ocean. And the village of Mendocino is so charming. I fell in love with it because although I was born and raised and lived most of my life in Los Angeles, I had spent some time on Cape Cod. And of course, Mendocino was settled by New Englanders. So that New England charm and that combined with the ocean just sold me. California is open, the weather is usually lovely. I mean, I wouldn't exist on the East Coast. I couldn't take those winters. What inspires me? Oh, I'm trying to think. East of Eden, the author, Senior Moments.
John
Steinbeck. Every time I drive through the Central Valley, I have some friends down down around San Luis Obispo, Salinas. I mean, each part of the state. I'm up in, let's say, the North Coast. Then there's the Central Coast, Central Inland, and then Los Angeles, where I lived for 40 years. And I was lucky enough to grow up in Los Angeles when it was a smaller city. And it was doable, and it wasn't, you weren't afraid of things. My mother could put me on the streetcar and send me downtown to shop. There was never any concern that it wouldn't be safe. And I still love to go back to Los Angeles. That's where so many of my friends are, but it's tough to live there now.
You know, we spent 6 days there. It's crazy. But I still love Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, but you do. Once you get there, get out of your car.
Right, right. Well, I ride my bike everywhere, so I don't.
Oh, well.
I don't even drive a car. I don't believe in it. I just only ride bicycles.
Well, I guess if my legs were working better, I'd like to do that as well.
So what brought you to this area?
Well, if I were truthful, and I usually am, I was running away from home. It could be a midlife crisis. I was kind of at a dead-end job. I was at the end of a marriage. I had 2 children. My son was starting college, and I had fallen in love with Mendocino. And I came back up to sort of scouted, and stayed at Little River Inn. We had dinner in the restaurant, and they were still able to serve Ole's abalone. And I remember so well, and I just said, I'm moving there. So my daughter and I came up in 1980, and huge culture shock, you know, like where was the Department of Water and Power? We're all on a well. What about the wood? I mean, who's going to chop the wood for me? Things like that. But I felt it was wonderful. And my first job was at Kelly House Museum. I was their first staff member. So I had the opportunity to kind of get the volunteers started and some programs going, and it's a little gem, as you know, in the village.
That's a great story. Great story. Yeah, it's funny because when we were just talking about this on the way down here.
Tell us a little bit about...
There's been a terrific presence. I always love to watch some of the famous movies that were shot here. Summer of '42 remains one of my favorites, and of course, The East of Eden. I know that there have been at least 100 movies filmed right here on the coast, and that it started with The Silence, if you can imagine. Imagine traveling up here in those cars, you know, the 20s, 1919 or whatever it was. So there is a presence here. I got to be an extra in a movie that was filmed up here, Racing with the Moon. And the interesting thing about that is everybody went over to Crown Hall where they catered lunch. So we're with the stars, quote unquote stars. And there were these bratty little boys who were in this movie. And who ever heard of Nicolas Cage and Sean Penn? And they were so bratty, you know, and they were bored and they were smoking cigarettes. And I thought, well, you know, I just hope somebody shapes them up. Who knew? So it was really fun to be an extra. When I was at Kelly House, we had a meeting for, I think, another movie Richard Benjamin was directing. And when I was with the Chamber of Commerce, which was 10 years, from 80 to 90, we started the film office. We got it going. I mean, we started it. It didn't really succeed, but it's very successful now, the film office up in Fort Bragg at the Chamber of Commerce. So
is that the one with Deborah?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, did anyone know on any of these movies that your background in the film industry or your touch with notoriety, you know?
I don't remember that.
So you've been low profile.
I would never bring it up, and it's funny when people who've known me maybe a long time and they don't know about the movie, and they look at me like, how could you keep that from me? Sort of, but it isn't as though I say, hi, my name's Cammie Conlon. I was Bonnie Blue Butler in Gone with the Wind. You know, it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up in conversation.
But you have mentioned you've gone to reunions. So so then by that time those people know about it, because why am I going? The reunions have been incredible. There are reunions and there are events. Do you know that there are 3 Gone with the Wind museums in the state of Georgia? There is the Clark Gable Foundation in Cadiz, Ohio. Yeah, so and there's a professor at Gadsden State University who's an authority on Gone with the Wind, and he has these fabulous events. I mean, I would never have gotten to Gadsden, Alabama, without that. Charleston, what an opportunity to visit. But there are these loyal fans who adore the movie. They treasure it, and so if you had the tiniest part of it, they just love you.
Do you have fond recollections of the making of the movie?
I don't know if they're fond. When I think about it, I don't think of anything, only one day, one unhappy thought. I think I smile more about the pony. You know, what little girl wouldn't like having her very own pony? And I liked the being dressed up. I liked that long riding habit. You know, I think I kind of swished around in that like the Queen of the May. And since I mentioned it, I'll tell you the unhappy memory I have. I just remember being embarrassed, ashamed, and Mother told me. It was one day I wasn't paying attention before they were ready to shoot. I wasn't learning my lines, She taught them to me every morning. And so we were filming a scene, and everything stopped, and Victor Fleming came over and knelt down in front of me. So we were at eye level, and I blew my lines. I blew it. I didn't know it. And he said, Cammie, I have a little girl your age. And he did. I met Victoria Fleming. And he said, you know, I come to the studio and work every day so I can take care of my little girl. And Cammie, do you see all these men around here? And of course I looked at me, yes, Mr. Fleming. Well, they all have little boys and girls at home, and that's why they work. And Cammie, when you don't know your lines, we can't take care of our families.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. So it stayed with me.
Wow. Did that help in a way or no? Or just
Oh, I never forgot another line.